Welcome guys to this section of the course. Now this file did give me a lot of issues. I was trying to open it and it will behave in weird ways. Now sometimes what I encourage people to do is, and this is an undoable action, and even Maya warns you, is you need to optimize your scene size. Like optimizing, it's basically going to get rid of all the junk that maybe Maya is not using, and I find sometimes that helps in avoiding crashes or avoiding weird stuff happening to your file while you're working. So I optimized and I even renamed and saved a new file because it was giving me issues. So we left off here. As you can see, we have these three poses. So let's go to frame 44 and I'm going to select everything and key it. And basically what I like to do is I just like to zero out oops, I did not do the wrong thing there. I like to zero out everything and bring everything back to its original state. Now the feet, if you let me first zero out everything. The feet, if you would have noticed in the video reference, the feet do not move in their position, so that is essential in creating or making sure that that pose is correct. But for now, let me first zero out everything, excluding this one obviously, and also be careful not to zero out the scale or you're going to get some funny things happening to your rig. And seems to be these ones behind here that are not zeroed out, and obviously even the head. This is for the head control, and I think everything is zeroed out. Now I've said that the feet are the only thing that maybe you should leave them as is, so we are just going to go back to this frame and basically I'm going to middle mouse click on frame 44 and I am going to set a key for the translation. And I can see that the translation is basically, it's at 0. So let me just say key selected, and I'm going to go to this other one. So this other one has indeed some keys. Also, now for the rotation of this one is the one that maybe I'm not going to maintain its keyframes, because it's being controlled by this main controller. So yeah, and this one has moved slightly because even if you look at the reference, look at the feet there, they're not really moving. So that is what I was saying. So the only things that are moving is maybe the rotation and yeah, the rotation of the root there, and also the knees need to move, and I think it needs to be, is it supposed to be straight? And also make sure you rotate your global control, just make sure you've selected the right thing. And obviously you need a slight bend on your back, on the back there, because he is indeed bending. See, I think this thing is too big, so let's rotate the feet using this controller. Increase the in case you want to increase the manipulator size, just press the plus and the minus key on your keyboard. Yeah, so definitely I need to balance out my character because I can see he's obviously out of balance. Same case for this. So I'm just playing back to make sure that everything is working as I want it to. And in this case I think I need to push the global control a little bit forward like that, and I feel as if I've rotated this leg too much. Let me zero out and try and work with this other main one here. Maybe try and push the knee. Yeah, I think it's coming along. It just takes a little bit of tweaking. And sometimes the video reference can be wrong. So if you notice, like in this case, I'm noticing there's no really, I'm finding it quite impossible not to move his feet. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to first of all ignore the reference video there a little bit and do it my own way, because I've noticed that it's giving me some slight issues. You see, that way it looks more stretched. So like I said, the the reference video is more of like, look at it as more of a guideline, and I don't need to match it exactly, because it's not as exaggerated as I'm doing exaggerating it right now. Because you see, if I exaggerate it manually, it looks more appealing. So in this case, the video reference was hindering us, and I'm not saying that this method is the most correct way. All I'm saying is sometimes it's just good to know when the video reference is not really working out the way you want it to work out. So like in my case, it was really not working out for me. So you notice that now the pose looks better because I just decided to ignore the video reference and just basically work off my instinct. So in this case, it's still this arm that is up, so that's interesting. And yeah, so I believe it's there. We can always put this one down. And that's the thing about this arm is raised and it's quite behind there, so you notice that immediately I'm really getting a good pose, and it's really good that I've just decided to stop using the video reference, because I've noticed that the video reference was kinda hindering me. And remember, this is a 2D character, so it may not have the limitations of an actual 3D character. So take video reference as a reference, not as like the absolute correct way you should work around your stuff. So I'm noticing that I need a better pose for my fingers. And really that's animation. It's just working, tweaking, making sure that the poses look correct at most of the views. I'm starting to feel as if the fingers maybe need to be, I don't know, I feel like I should just split them. I should just split them a little bit to give them a little bit of an offset. Maybe maybe mess around with this thumb. Yeah, and I think thumb does make a big difference on this. Should it be raised? I really don't know. Let's not focus too much on that side. Let's go back to this other side. Sometimes you just need to know when to stop doing it, because you can just mess up a good pose by just repeatedly focusing on one area and forgetting that there's other areas you need to focus on. So just trying to make sure that this pose looks nice. Oh, and I don't like that. I do not like that. Just tweak them individually. And I'm liking the way this finger blade is offset. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to raise this finger up. I'm going to set it a little bit. Yeah, it looks more natural like that when it's offset from the rest of the arm there, the wrist, that is the wrist of the arm, the wrist. So, and obviously our head needs to face. Now if you ever wonder what this is, your image planes, so you just need to make sure that sometimes, not the image planes necessarily, the cameras, you need to make sure that the cameras are off so that you cannot accidentally mess with the camera. Now that I have raised the head, I've noticed that my arm needs to be tweaked, and I think the back is arched nicely. I'm liking the way the back is arched, and maybe the hips, you can rotate the hips, but then remember you have a hip control there. So, and if I was to press 7, yeah, that's I think this arm may need to be fixed a little bit, so let's raise it. Yeah, I think now it looks okay. Yeah, and yeah, I like the pose. I'm really digging that pose. And remember, it's smoothing out because of in the graph editor, remember that I stepped, like I used a stepped, I don't know if it's a stepped really, but I use this linear linear curve that does not have a smooth playback to it. So yeah, it's good to help you to avoid the distractions. And yeah, so we've completed both poses. You can work on it more, like maybe exaggerate it a little bit, because also exaggeration helps to save these poses. And I think maybe push it a little bit forward. Nope, not using that one. That one is going to come later on. Maybe try bend it, yeah, that way. And I think now that it's exaggerated, I think it's better. And yeah, I'll see you in the next lesson.